Are high-interest credit cards or personal loans weighing you down? Unlock gives homeowners a smarter option. With a home equity agreement, you can tap into your home's equity for cash today. There are no monthly payments. Here's how it works. Unlock provides funds upfront and in exchange, shares in a portion of your home's future value. That means you keep control with the flexibility to use your equity your way. Pay off bills, invest in home improvements, or set aside savings for peace of mind. For thousands of homeowners, Unlock has been the key to moving forward without the pressure of another payment. Put your equity to work for you. Visit unlock.com to learn more about a home equity agreement. That's unlock.com to learn more.
Terms and conditions apply. Not all homeowners will qualify. Not available in all states. Actor Portrayal. Home equity agreements are offered by Unlock Home Equity Solutions, Inc. In certain states, NMLS number 2657081. Visit www.consumeraccess.org for more info.
You know what it is. That's right. It's time to talk money with your money nerd and financial coach. Now, tighten those purse strings and open those ears. It's the Money Talk with Tiff podcast.
Hey everyone, I am so excited because I have Melissa Broughton on the line. Now, Melissa, we've tried to record this episode a couple of times already. We're finally getting it recorded, but that means it's some good stuff coming your way. We're here to talk about why business owners need bookkeepers and how you're losing money by not having one. Hey Melissa, how are you?
Hey, Tiffany, I'm so good. And yes, we have had a few hiccups, but we are here and it just means that it is going to be worth the wait.
Yes, for sure. Now, we've talked about bookkeeping on the podcast before, but those that are maybe new to the podcast, can you explain what a bookkeeper is?
Sure. I love that question. And I think it's a question that most people don't ask. You talk to 10 bookkeepers and you might get 10 answers, and you talk to 10 business owners and you might get 10 different answers. So there's definitely a lot of mystery, although not intentional, but a lot of mystery surrounding this profession of mine. And in truth, what a bookkeeper does at the simplest level is they take the information from a variety of financial institutions. So checking accounts, savings accounts, credit cards, maybe even loans. And they put that information into one complete set of financial records that is then categorized, and those categories hopefully line up or are able to be lined up with items for your tax professional to be able to report taxes.
Gotcha. Now, I know just from speaking from a lot of different business owners and entrepreneurs that bookkeeping is probably the most scariest thing. I think it's up there, probably along the lines of hiring people too, probably 1 and 2 with people that they just don't want to either look at the books, they don't want to look at the finances, they just don't want to do that part of the business. But as you just mentioned, it's super important. Why is bookkeeping so important?
So there is a lot of aversion, I guess we could say, to bookkeeping or to looking at our books. And I think the big reason, before I can answer your question, I think it deserves to be spoken on why people avoid it. And I think the avoiding is just because nobody really wants to take a look, under the covers. People don't want to take a look at maybe what they perceive as a whole bunch of mistakes, or look at what their maybe spending habits have been in their business. They decide all of these terrible things before they just take a look and see, what the numbers are really telling them. Why it's important, for the top level reason, it's important because taxes need to be filed every year, right? If you're a business owner, you have to file and pay taxes every year. It's not something that we can avoid. It's not something that we can, hide from. We may be able to delay it for a few years, not recommended, because it will come back and it will kind of haunt you when the IRS or the state agency that you happen to report to makes a decision on what you should have to pay in taxes. So for the highest level, bookkeeping is important for tax purposes. But if we get down a little bit more and really utilize what bookkeeping could be used for. That's a terrible sentence. But if we really make the most of it, there are so many things that we can utilize financials for in the day-to-day operations of our business. So one thing that I like to discuss with my clients is putting a budget in place. Now, when I say budget, I'm not saying we should restrict your spending in any way. I'm simply saying, let's be aware of what our spending is, and let's let our spending and our income build to be able to get us where we want it to go. So maybe we need to invest more in a certain area because we're trying to ramp up a new product. Or maybe we need to cut back on some expenses so that we can feel like we're not one of the, millions of small business owners across the country that are living just above poverty levels. We deserve to get paid what we're worth for working in our businesses. So there's a lot of different things that the numbers that happen in our business can lead us to. And when we know that everything is in there, so when the bookkeeping has been done and all of those different accounts and all of the numbers from those different accounts have all of that information into, let's say, our accounting software, we can then see the full picture of our business. And when we can see the full picture of our business, then we can make informed decisions.
Are you ready to finally make that dream a reality? Maybe it's updating your kitchen, paying down high-interest credit cards, or covering tuition. Your home is more than where you live. It's also your most powerful asset. At Unlock, we make it simple to turn equity into options. With a home equity agreement, you can access cash today without taking on monthly payments. Imagine the freedom to invest in your home, reduce financial stress, or finally start that big project you've been putting off. It's your home. It's your future. Unlock it today. Visit unlock.com to learn more about a home equity agreement. That's unlock.com to learn more.
Terms and conditions apply. Not all homeowners will qualify. Not available in all states. Actor Portrayal. Home equity agreements are offered by Unlock Home Equity Solutions, Inc. In certain states, NMLS number 2657081. Visit www.consumeraccess.org for more info.
Decisions.
Gotcha. Now, a lot of what you described sounds like something CPAs or maybe a fractional CFO. If people were familiar with those terms, but not particularly a bookkeeper, what is the difference? Like, why would people use a bookkeeper versus a CPA or maybe a fractional CFO or something along those lines? Why is that so important?
So, cost may be one factor. I will say if we're going to talk about the CPA is in that tax professional realm. Within that realm, you have your CPA who I would say is similar to like a specialist in the medical field, right? The CPA is your ear, nose, and throat doctor. And if you have an ear infection or a specific issue, then that CPA is who you would need to go to. The next level down, let's say, would be an enrolled agent. An enrolled agent is more general practice. And they can also help to facilitate taxes getting completed and filed. And then, the final level of tax preparers that you would have would be a certified tax preparer. And they are also more of a general practice. I would say I would equate them to like a nurse practitioner. And when you have these different tax preparers, that we're looking at, they are just that. They are tax preparers. They are not going to be getting into your books or your company's books on a monthly basis. Now, what will happen if you go to that tax professional or that tax preparer and do not have clean, accurate books is they will either have someone, maybe they have a bookkeeper on their team that will do the reconciliations and tally everything up for the year. Or most often what I've seen happen is that they will take all of the bank statements from the client. And again, you're now the challenge here is you're depending on the client to remember and provide all of the statements. So I don't know about you, but I have times where I can't remember what I had for breakfast yesterday, let alone remembering all of the statements I would need to give to my tax professional. And they're essentially doing a rush job to put everything together, similar to what would happen if you were cramming for an exam, right? If you're cramming all of the information in maybe over a weekend or the night before you have an exam, you may be able to pass the test. The tax professional will certainly be able to file your taxes, but you're not maximizing on your tax savings. There's a huge chance that they are missing things. There's a huge chance that you may have missed things. So it's not intentional. It's just when we're doing things at the last minute for a specific deadline, sometimes things get lost. There's some averages that we see on when business owners utilize a bookkeeper throughout the year versus when they just turn all of their records, and I say all in air quotes, but when they just turn all of their records over to a tax professional, and it's about a $7,500 difference. So on average, small businesses that are doing $2 to $3 million a year in revenue. So we're not talking about, multi-million dollar corporations, but smaller businesses that are doing, 3 million or less in revenue, that the average that they are seeing is about $7,500 that are missed in deductions. Now, that's huge. So that would be the CPA in that question. A fractional CFO, love the space that they operate in, but a fractional CFO is generally going to cost you significantly more than a bookkeeper would cost you. And they are very focused on growth or future predictions, future cash flow predictions, whereas a bookkeeper is looking at what has happened, let's say in the previous month. They're reconciling, so they're checking off everything to make sure it's in your financial software and it's categorized correctly. And then they're able to produce financial reports that show the complete picture of your business. So they would almost be the first step before you would even be able to work with that fractional CFO. And in most cases, the preferred step that you take before you work with the tax professional.
Yes, I love that. And I love the medical analogy that you used, which I had never heard it equated like that, but it's perfect because how I just pegged in my mind, a bookkeeper is like a nurse. Like they make sure that you're all set up and ready to go. They make sure that you're doing your preventative stuff, before you get to the doctor or the specialist if you decide to go that route.
It's so true.
Mm-hmm.
It is so true. And so if we think about that medical analogy, half the time I'll tell you, I don't know what analogies are going to come out of my mouth. I just think of things and I say them. But if we think about if you had to have blood drawn, you really do not want your doctor drawing your blood. I mean, you don't. They don't know what they're doing. They could do it, but you'd have an arm that was, sore and bruised for days afterwards. You'd rather have that nurse who that is his or her specialty. That is what they do. They go in and they take care of the stuff that they take care of so that they can hand it off to the doctor.
Yes. And I am a firm believer in bookkeepers. I have a bookkeeper myself, y'all, and I love her. But it is invaluable information getting those reports and things on a monthly basis. Like, okay, what worked last month? What didn't work last month? What can we do better? How can we cut costs? How can we make more? Like, you won't get that data just going to a tax professional once a year. Like, you need that data kind of real time, and see what works. So I love that you brought that up. And I know that we mentioned that, they're losing money. So I'm glad that you put some numbers with it. So $7,500 in missing deductions. Like, I need that from Uncle Sam. Like, I don't want them to have my money.
They don't need our money. Not our $7,500. And that's the average. So there's obviously companies that it's less, but there's certainly companies that it's more. And usually the situation, I'll tell you, worst case scenario. So worst case scenario, and this was a client of ours, and I will do my best not to say anything so they can figure out who they are. But client of ours came to us. They had been a bookkeeping client, and then they had decided they were going to do it on their own, and then they didn't. And then they decided, they just forgot to pay taxes and pretty soon, because in truth, we know how fast time can fly. Pretty soon, they open up their mail and get a letter from the IRS stating that they owe $22,000 in taxes and that they had 10 days to pay. Now, what I know as a, financial professional is that letter did not come out of a vacuum. That was not the first attempt that the IRS had made to contact this particular business owner. But that was when we got back into the picture. And they, the IRS is not messing around. So you haven't filed your taxes in 3 years. They assessed that what was owed was $22,000. And that means you then have to go in and hope that you can get everything prepared before the cutoff deadline is and before all of your, accounts get essentially frozen and then you're just kind of stuck. So by handling things on an ongoing basis and not waiting to the last minute, you're just assuring that you're being a good, responsible business owner and that you don't have this huge, monkey on your back of all of the things that you aren't doing that you should be doing, right? So there's enough surprises that can come up in the world. Bookkeeping should not be one of them.
So true, so true. And one more thing I want to hit on, because there might be some business owners listening and they're like, well, I'm not at that level where I need a bookkeeper, or they think they don't need a bookkeeper. So what would you say to those entrepreneurs that are like, I don't really make that much, my books aren't really that bad, do I really need this?
Well, I'd say two things. First, the expense of hiring a bookkeeper is completely 100% a tax deduction. So if that helps to maybe change their mind, then I would say, yay, as far as that fact. It is kind of a nice thing to be able to say that I'm tax deductible. But the other piece is that if they truly feel that they will do their books and they will reconcile their accounts on a timely manner, meaning, a couple weeks after the month has ended, they're going to go in there and they're going to spend time doing it, or they're going to do it on an ongoing basis, then I really do believe that anybody can manage their own books. But the key is not letting it be the big hairy monster that hides in the corner that becomes bigger and bigger and bigger, and rather to address it on an ongoing monthly or even a weekly basis. I'm super excited, though, that you asked that question. So as you can imagine, get that question a lot. And as a result of that question, I actually wrote a book last year, and it's called The 4-Hour Bookkeeper. And I would love to be able to give any of your guests a free electronic copy of the book just for being a listener to your show.
Oh, that is amazing. Yes, we love freebies. I will never turn down a freebie. So I'll make sure I get that link from you and have it in the show notes. But also, if people were interested in learning more about you, where could they find you, Melissa?
busybeeadvisors.com.
busybeeadvisors.com. Easy enough, but I'll make sure I have that in the show notes as well.
Put it in the show notes. Yes, my friend. And they can jump onto our website. They can schedule a consultation either for bookkeeping or for tax. And we are happy to have a conversation. And if it turns into us working together for bookkeeping, that is fantastic. Or us working together for taxes, that is fantastic. But really, we are on a mission to educate small business
Yes,
owners.
I love that, Melissa. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show today. And this was great. I can't wait to release it to my audience. And I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.
You too. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for listening, joining, and being a part of the Money Talk with Tiff podcast this week. You can check Tiff out every Thursday for a new Money Talk podcast. But if you just can't wait until next week, you can listen to previous podcast episodes at moneytalkwitht.com or follow Tiff on all social media platforms at Money Talk with T. Until next time, spend wise by spending less than you make. A word to the money wise is always sufficient.
Are you ready to finally make that dream a reality? Maybe it's updating your kitchen, paying down high-interest credit cards, or covering tuition. Your home is more than where you live. It's also your most powerful asset. At Unlock, we make it simple to turn equity into options. With a home equity agreement, you can access cash today without taking on monthly payments. Imagine the freedom to invest in your home, reduce financial stress, or finally start that big project you've been putting off. It's your home. It's your future. Unlock it today. Visit unlock.com to learn more about a home equity agreement. That's unlock.com to learn more.
Terms and conditions apply. Not all homeowners will qualify. Not available in all states. Actor Portrayal. Home equity agreements are offered by Unlock Home Equity Solutions, Inc. In certain states, NMLS number 2657081. Visit www.consumeraccess.org for more info.